All right, here's a Farmall Super A 1953. We're taking it out of a barn. All right, everybody, welcome back to Fixing with the Kid. I'm out here with my next either project tractor or parts tractor, depending on the shape that it's in. Got a glare off the sun, but this is a 1953 Farmall Super A, and I got this from a lady. Actually, this belonged to my former ag teacher when I was in high school. He passed away. This was a second tractor he had. It's set for probably 20 years. I don't know the condition of the engine. I have already started to clean it up. I put some penetrating oil into the cylinders and turned it over with the hand crank. One of the things that was off with it was the shifter. With Super A, he was having trouble with the shifter, so he swapped out these shifters. The reason I know that is the paint doesn't match. But when we went and picked it up, this shifter was not on here, was not fastened down. We had to manually move the gears in there, and I'll show you a video of the underside of this. And I had to reassemble this hole underneath this unit, not knowing what I was doing, so I didn't film it, but it wound up working out. It shifts into gears and into neutral, so had to get it in neutral, so I was able to turn the engine over. It's pretty dirty and pretty rusty, been sitting, like I said, a long time. So I have another Super A project that's a 1949, I believe, that used to be my grandfather's. This currently belongs to my uncle. I'm trying to get it from him. That's the only tractor I desire to have. Now this one, if it runs, we'll possibly fix it up. If not, we're going to use it as a parts tractor to get that Super A going. So I'll bring you along for the journey in this multi-part series of bringing back this Farmall 1953 Super A with my partner. All right, hopefully you can hear me over the cicadas. I tried to hook up a starter, actually a battery charger unit, to the starter, and all it's doing is humming. So I'm going to pull it off and see if I can figure out if it's locked up or free it up or whatever. Inverted, because it has a generator, not an alternator. So we're going to try to take the starter off and see what's going on. We just got to take 3 bolts out, or 2 bolts and a nut. So we got to take those 2 bolts out, and then the connector right there for the system, and we'll free it up. Okay, I got the starter off, and turns out the Bendix was stuck, and the starter is doing a little bit of, I think the bearing is just squeaking a little bit. As I was trying to bar the engine over with the hand crank, I was hearing a squeak and I couldn't figure out where it was. The starter was stuck engaged, and I think the little end cap bearing over here is doing a little bit of squeaking. So if I can get the starter to spin, blow it out with some air, I think maybe it'll clear up. If not, we'll dig into it. The first thing I'm going to do is take out this flathead screw. There's one on each side, and take this assembly off. It is very stuck. And this is what makes your contact. You pull your lever, pull your starter. It engages this button, which makes a positive contact from here to the starter post, and that's what spins your starter. So I'm going to take that off and try to clean it, and then I'll put it back together and see if the starter is going to spin over. I took off the starter pull, and that's basically what's under there. Take the 2 screws out. You have that contact there, and that's what spins your starter. This is not in, the insulator is all broken. It just fell apart. It's all brittle. Don't know if the one from my Cub will fit it or not. I'll try it. I think I have an old one I took off my Cub. Alright everybody, I have the starter apart. I've got the nose, the end part stuck back in the nose to hold it. And I started cleaning the commutator. I've done a ohms check on both parts of the starter, including the windings. I'm going to clean that up and I'll show you what it looks like when I do. Okay, here it is after I've cleaned it up. There's still just a little bit of something there, but it's hard to get down in there, and I don't think the brushes go that low. I may try to clean it a little bit more, but you get the idea. So I'll show it before and after. I have my 6-volt system, 6-volt battery. I was using a 12-volt before. I found me a 6-volt battery reasonably priced. I'm not getting spark, but I am getting power to the coil and power out of the coil. So I'm assuming it's the distributor. So I'm going to pull the distributor assembly off so I can work on it easier. So I'll bring you back when I have it on the workbench. All you have to do is take out this bolt, take out a bolt down here, mark where it was, and then I've marked everything else. So take the 2 wires off of the coil. I've laid the coil right here. It's an original coil, but it's in rough shape. Alright, we'll get it on the workbench. Alright, I was able to clean the points. The guy gave me a used coil, 6-volt coil, new cap, new wires, and we have spark. So I'm going to take the carburetor off and we'll get that on the bench and clean it out. Here's the carburetor. Pretty nasty. We got to take those 2 bolts out. And the fuel line, of course, and then on the back side is the throttle rod, and the throttle plate seems to be moving. We'll take a look at that. Alright, to take the oil bath air filter off, we got to take these 2 bolts out, and we got to take these 2 clamps off right here. As I said, now we have spark, so we got to pull the air cleaner. This is an oil bath air cleaner. See if it got any oil left in it. Yeah, got some oil in it. And we're going to loosen up these clamps here. And we're going to loosen up those 2 bolts there. Got to pull the choke. The choke rod runs through here. So I've got to pull the choke. Alright, hold on. And see if I can get that choke rod off the back. Get it with a, might be able to get it with a ratchet. We know this carburetor needs cleaning. Ain't no doubt in my mind. There's one. Okay, I got the bolt out. I'll show you what I was talking about. This is the choke rod on the back side. You got your throttle here and the choke down there. It runs up. Here's your oil bath air filter manifold. It goes right through this opening. So if you're going to take that off, you have to pull that off first. So I'll get it off. I'll bring you back when I got it on the workbench. Just laid it on the workbench, took out the 4 screws in the corners that hold the 2 halves together, and basically come apart real easy. Didn't damage the gasket. I mean, it's relatively clean. Nothing is stuck. The bowl is decent. I'm going to clean it out with some carb spray. The outside of the carburetor looks worse than the inside of the carburetor. I'm going to try to chip some of that out and clean it up a little bit, and we'll come back and look at it. Well, I've got the carburetor back together. I cleaned out the jets. The float was stuck. So I got that cleared up. I bottle fed some gas in a little piece of fuel line. Carburetor accepted it. And we're going to try to crank it for the first time. There we go, first run. Bottle feeding the carburetor. I hadn't cleaned out the tank yet, but there we go. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. Till next time, goodbye.